Hello, everyone, and welcome to our final installment. I know we're very sad that it's ending too, of the Introduction to Conscious EFT. We are your hosts. I'm Jen Cincurak.
And I'm Nancy Forrester. And today, I just want to reflect back on where we've been over our previous episodes and lots of exciting ideas. I hope you found them that way too. And we also taught you the basic acupressure tapping points. And boy, I hope that you've been doing this in your life and that you've been experiencing some shifts in your nervous system. And we spoke a little bit about the kind of things that a nervous system does as it's regulating itself. Regulating meaning coming from its frozen or its fight or flight and back into this lovely social engagement, what's often called the friend and befriend or tend and befriend system, right? Caring for others and ourselves and being friends and that part of being a human being that we value so highly. So we spoke about things like yawning and sighing. I think I shared that oftentimes my eyes water as the inflammation is reducing in my system. One of the primary things that happens in my nervous system that I know that it's regulating itself is my tummy gurgles. So even though, maybe I've had a good meal or it's definitely not hunger, that's a really strong sign of regulation of a nervous system. How about you, Jen? What sort of signs and symptoms of regulation are yours?
Well, I love that you brought up the tummy because remember before when we were talking about that long nerve and how it's connected with all of these organs?
Yeah.
So any symptom that comes from that or any side effect or, rumblings that happen, there you are. There's your evidence that it's tied your body and your brain together as you're regulating. For me, yawning is the big one. And I know we talked about that before. But just to let everyone know, sometimes you'll get stomach growling, which is great because that means you're in that rest and digest peaceful part of your nervous system, right? But some people will get gas moving up or down. So don't be astonished if that's something that happens. I know it sounds bizarre, but so those are the other things. And like you said, you get the watering. Oh, another one. Sometimes I feel like I have mucus and I have to blow my nose. So I have to blow my nose. So another thing where there's movement happening, stimulated by the nervous system.
Yeah. So we were talking about a lot of things to do with the lungs, right? The sighing and the big intakes. Well, you get things around your heart as well, right? You get your heartbeat just sort of calming down and regulating itself. So many different things that happen as a result of doing this tapping. So what I'd like to do though is share a little bit about the conscious EFT approach. We've just touched the very tip of the iceberg here, like probably the top 5% of the iceberg. There's so much more. And one of the challenges that I faced early on in introducing this work to my clients, and then eventually after I founded the National EFT Training Institute, how to offer this as a part of the training package. And that is that a client would be in session with me and I would be teaching them how to do the tapping, and I'd be teaching them the full-blown tapping thing. So not just the points, but there's some words that go along with it and And so we do all of that, and then off they go, and I would say to them, until we meet again, I want you to do this a few times a day. And so they would come back and I would say, so how did it go? What did you notice? And they would say, well, I didn't do it. And after I finished tearing my hair out, I would say, can you explain to me that decision not to do this? And every single time it would be, well, I remembered the points, but I didn't know the words to say. And so I didn't do it. So I sat with that and I said, well, okay, then how can I create a framework where they don't need to use the words right off the bat, that using the words can be a future step in the learning process? And so I invented a framework which we call bronze, silver, and gold EFT tapping. And bronze is the entry level. Makes sense. Silver is the level where you start integrating a bit of the cognitive language And then gold is the full blown use everything you know about conscious EFT to serve yourself and to serve your clients. So very often the gold standard is what practitioners who have been certified, accredited, are offering their clients. So what we taught people is the very start of bronze tapping. And I call it mindless tapping
Mm-hmm.
because there's no thinking involved. There's no words involved. There's nothing involved except tapping on these acupressure points in exactly the way that we've been sharing. Now, just because it's the entry point doesn't mean that it's not powerful. It is incredibly powerful. And there are lots of ways that we can integrate mindless bronze tapping into our lives in ways that are very, very helpful. So I'll maybe share a couple of mine, and then Jen, I'll ask you about what are the different ways that you bring mindless bronze tapping into your life. So for me, I use it anytime I have a commute. So it's keeping safe and keeping one hand on the steering wheel and watching what's going on. I just do tapping on the points over and over and over. I'm not thinking about anything. I'm not trying to solve anything. I'm not trying to shift anything. I'm really just toning my energy system. So that's one way that I use bronze tapping. The other way that I use bronze tapping is when I'm doing something else which is mindless. So if I'm watching Netflix, for example, or I'm watching a TV show, or sometimes even if I'm running on the treadmill, right? Again, keeping myself safe, hanging onto the treadmill, and I'll just do this energy hygiene, energy toning approach that we call bronze level mindless tapping. Examples, Jen, from you?
Yeah, I love the TV example because I think it makes things easy. And Nancy and I are going to tell you, ways that you can do more of this. And we do get into this more
Yes.
there. But I go for a walk sometimes.
Yeah.
If I'm not working out in the morning, I'll go for a walk. You can't be lifting weights and tapping. But when I'm going for a walk, I pretty much tap the whole time
Yeah.
that I'm walking. And that's just like, there I go. I've got a half hour to hour in, and it's just calming and regulating the whole time.
Yeah.
So that's an easy one. Like anyone who has a dog, you have to go walk your dog. There you go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it really is just taking the edge off, right? As we've been chatting about, we live in a world where there are so many invitations to engage our defensive system. And
Mm-hmm.
so just intervals during the day, sometimes I say to people, hook it to a habit that's already firmly engaged in your life, and then just bring a little bit of tapping at the same time as you're doing that habit. And you're just taking the edge off the buildup of stress and overwhelm in your life. And yes, there's so much more.
Yeah, and think about everyone when Nancy and I did this, and I think it was was it the first or the second video? We introduced how to do this mindless tapping. And just as you and I, who really should have holes in our heads for how much tapping we've done at this point, just you and I sitting there just saying, okay, here's this point, here's this point. We did 3 rounds of tapping,
Yeah.
and I was feeling calmer by the end of that. And for those of you who are participating and who maybe have been engaging in just not talking, but just quiet, mindless tapping on your own, do you see this? Do you have this experience? And maybe this is what you can let us know in the comment box below. Like, yeah, I did it, and it did calm me down, or had to do it for a little longer because I was really in a space. Just let us know what your experience has been.
And can I just put a little plug in for our little people? Because this is so simple to teach to our little people. And just the bronze mindless tapping is so powerful for
For the
young little
kiddos.
nervous systems now. And so just teaching them how to do this. I can think of all kinds of ways that you could bring this into the family system or the educational system. Just this very, very simple first entry level into emotional freedom techniques.
Yeah, absolutely. So because there's so much more, and Nancy and I are trying not to be overwhelming with, and do it this way, and do it this way, and do it this way, because it's so juicy and it's so really, really great. But like she said, over decades of having people say, oh yeah, I didn't do it because it was just too much. And realizing, oh, look, I can help people do it where it is achievable. So we want to keep it achievable for you. And that being, if you loved this, you feel you got a handle on the mindless tapping, you're off to the races. Thanks so much, Jen and Nancy. It was great knowing you. Wonderful. We are so happy and we love
We
that.
wish you well.
Yes, like that's amazing, and you'll do lovely things.
Yeah.
For those of you who are like, yep, I want more. Give me more of the juicy stuff. I want to keep moving forward. Nancy and I have created a lovely course where we keep this pace of just bringing in another piece. And then what do you know? We build on top of that. And then we build on top of that as we go. So it's a 9-part audio course where you're getting the 2 of us, and we have one guest come in on the first of the audios. And like Nancy said, this was the tip of the bronze tapping. So we get into, well, how do we get a little deeper into the bronze tapping? What are other ways we can use bronze tapping? What are stories that Nancy has seen clinically with people doing bronze tapping, and that our guest speaker has seen clinically with bronze tapping, and how we integrate it into our lives? And then we build on that, and Nancy explains a little bit more about this phased approach. And as she keeps teaching us a little bit more how to use it a little more deeply. And I have to say, I know this stuff, right? I studied it with Nancy, was self-taught, studied it again. I love it. I listen to it all the time. I've been podcasting about it for several years. But still, when I was going through editing these, I just loved it so much. Like there was such a flow and feeling to it. And I thought, well, maybe I just love it because I get to talk with Nancy and we get along so well, and it's just me. So we've had other people now listen to it, and they just loved it. And they really felt like people who have never used EFT before, practitioners, non-practitioners who love it and are like, yeah, I tap all the time now. And they notice a big difference, and they're using it with their children, and they love the more clinical stories that we bring into it. So then as Nancy brings you more of this phased method, then we get into the silver that she referred to, the silver tapping. And how do you start doing that once you've got a really good handle on the bronze, and then bringing some words into it? But you don't have to think of them, because we bring it to you in this silver way where you get to try it on. And then we build on that, where we get to use this silver tapping for everything that like, the big things that we see all the time. So we have a really fun episode where all we do is my craving on jelly donuts, everyone. And I have not craved one since.
Whoa.
You should leave that for the fun discovery and the follow-up week. But we do a really fun one for craving where you can bring your personal kryptonite in, and we work on that. We do a really fun one on chronic pain. Everyone's had a pain, right, that they can't let go of. We also do a really fun session, like a live session on achieving some sort of a goal.
Right.
And some sort of performance, way that you want to perform better. And we do samples of that so that you can really get into this, dip your toes in. It really does get juicy and really enticing. And then we move you along the information to bringing you to what is the gold standard, and what Nancy breaks down the phased approach that she's given you the summary of a little bit more. And the whole time, really, it's just because Nancy is so concerned about being conscious about it and keeping you safe the whole time. You really do feel safe the whole time. Like if anyone's excitable, it's me. And then Nancy's right there to sort of, okay, and bring us back in. And it really, the whole time, it just feels like this lovely flow, like it's an experience, not just, I've taken lots of continuing education courses before. Like, oh, wow, this is a really cool thing to learn, and you really like it. But you actually have a felt experience at the same time, because that somatic piece is part of it, and you get to do the tapping and feel great, not just think great.
Beautiful. Well, there's 2 things I'd like to say. Number one is I really love the way that we were able to create a very layered approach to this. So, we thought a lot and brainstormed a lot around which pieces should come when, in order that it does really build on each other episode after episode. And I've spent my entire life basically in adult education, and so it's been such a joy, Jen, to work with you and to be able to organize this program using everything that I know that helps adults to truly integrate not just cognitive learning, but full experiential learning. And so I'm really proud of how we've created the program to support that. The other thing that I'm so excited about personally is there's always been a challenge. You know, I talked about how I founded the National EFT Training Institute, and the challenge has been that to to professionally train and to certify in this field is a big investment. It's a big investment of time. It's a big investment of money. It involves, you know, live event, workshop, intensives, a lot of stuff. And it's been a challenge to me to make us a significant and valuable entry place that doesn't require that big an investment of time and money, but is still incredibly useful to people.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited about this program because finally there's something that I can offer to people to say, look, here's how you can get started, and you don't need to jump into the deep end. There's steps into the shallow end here. So
That's right. That's right. So it's a phased approach to commitment even.
very good, very good.
Yeah. So we are at introeft.com, this lovely course. If you feel like this is the time to bring it into your life. Now, Nancy taught business for 20 years in the
Yep.
colleges. I am trained very well in sales, and neither one of I'm not going to try and create a bunch of scarcity where you have to sign up for this now and your life isn't going to be complete if you do not take this. If you have been sticking with Nancy and I through this, and you do feel like you're ready to take the next step and bring it into your life, introeft.com, you can read more about it there.
Yeah.
And everything that we just said is true, like Nancy said, because she's been teaching adults for so long, for all of her life. That's why it feels so flippin' great taking a course from her, because she knows how we learn and is very respectful to you the whole time you're learning. So it just feels so easy to take in, and it's in this very light interview style. So it's so digestible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's great. Yes. So I would encourage people to follow your heart, right? It maybe to follow the integration of your head and your heart. But if there's a yes there, then yes, please head over to introeft.com and trust. You know, if this is not your time to do that, that's great. You know, we love and accept you anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And if this is your time, then it would just be fabulous to continue the journey with you.
So thank you all so much for being
Mhm.
present with us and doing all this lovely tapping work and learning with us. We have so loved every minute of it, genuinely from our hearts.
For sure. For sure. Thank you, everybody.